Experiment 8. Solubility of organic compounds. Now, from the manual, you are told or you have been made to understand that organic compounds dissolves in different substances. Okay, now there are certain experiments that can be carried out for you to identify if this compound you are given is so and so, or if it is not. For example, in a laboratory, you were given at least 4 samples, labeled sample A to D. You want to know which of the samples is an amine, which one is phenol, which one is carboxylic acid, which one is aldehyde, ketone, and the like. Know fully well that when a mixture of a specified amount of a given solute and a specified amount of a given solvent forms a homogeneous liquid, it is said that the solute dissolves in the solvent, giving you a solution. Now, when the solution is formed and is homogeneous, it's difficult for you to identify. So the only way you can identify is by carrying out specified solubility test of such compounds. Now, solubility tests are very important because they allow you to make a choice of which functional group is present or is available for whatever you want to do. You can test them in water. You can see it on the screen. This is just a simplified or a summary of all that you did in experiment 8. The type of solvents you were given are also showing on the screen. You can either be given water, ether, 5% sodium hydroxide, 5% HCl, 5% sodium hydrogen carbonate, and concentrated H2S. So for whichever one that you are given, you should get yourself acquainted with what can dissolve in what. So this screen you are seeing is just summarizing everything that is in the manual under experiment 8. Now, where you are given a sample and you are asked to identify with your litmus paper, definitely a litmus test that give you or that showcase a basic compound is an amine. And if it is an amine, it will dissolve in HCl. After not dissolving in sodium hydroxide. You can see that that should be line 1, 2, 3, 4. Line 4, 5% HCl. The substance that can dissolve in that is aromatics and aliphatic amines. So for experiment 8, you were not given an aromatic compound. You were given carboxylic acid, phenol, amine, and some other low molecular weight compounds like aldehyde and co. But majorly, you should know, excuse me, once you see a setup or a table, or when you see substances given to you, you should have it at the back of your mind that amines will always dissolve in 5% HCl. It will not dissolve in sodium hydroxide, neither will it dissolve in sodium hydrogen carbonate. It will only dissolve in HCl. So that gives you amine as your answer. Now for carboxylic acid and phenols. Carboxylic acid and phenols will dissolve in 5% sodium hydroxide. It will dissolve. Now, that is what both of them will dissolve in. Both carboxylic acid and phenols. Both of them will dissolve in 5% sodium hydroxide. Now will I call it a differential equation between them now? What will make a difference between them is sodium hydrogen carbonate. Phenols will not dissolve in sodium hydrogen carbonate, but carboxylic acid will dissolve. So that has brought difference between phenols and carboxylic acid. So 5% sodium hydroxide is for both of them. But to differentiate, you further dissolve your substances, sodium hydrogen carbonate. Whichever one that dissolve is the carboxylic acid. The other that did not dissolve is your phenol. Now, you can also look at alcohols and co. In fact, alcohols, aliphatic amines, acid, esters, ketones, aldehydes, carbohydrates, all those carbons or organic compounds with lower than 4 carbons, they will dissolve in water. But water is not actually what will give you the specific identification. Is this other solvent, especially your sodium hydroxide, your HCl, your sodium hydrogen carbonate. So, for your experiment in class, in the laboratory, your sample A was amine. Why is it amine? Because it dissolved in HCl, whereas it did not dissolve in sodium hydroxide, and it's a basic compound. Number 2, your sample B was any of the low molecular weight compound like aldehyde, like ketones, like alcohol, esters, and co. Why do you say so? They dissolve in water, but they did not dissolve in sodium hydroxide. Neither do they dissolve in HCl. That tells you that these are low molecular weight compounds. It could either be ketone, it could be aldehyde, it could be esters and co. You can't specify which one, but the group, it could be either be any of them. So when your substance can only dissolve in water and refuses to dissolve in other substances, then you should, this is either ketone, aldehyde, esters, and so on. So your sample C is also same in the laboratory. It's also a neutral compound. It refuses to dissolve in sodium hydroxide and did not dissolve in HCl. So you can, but the only thing you cannot tell is if it is a ketone or an aldehyde or ester or aliphatic amines or alcohol. You don't know. But then you can categorize them as low molecular weight compound. Then your sample D in the laboratory was an acidic compound. It changes red litmus to blue. So it was acidic and it dissolved in sodium hydroxide. It also dissolved in sodium hydrogen carbonate. That makes it what? Carboxylic acid. So that is all about experiment 8. So you just have to get used to this. For those of you that will still, the exam is actually coming, so definitely you have to, and that is why I have to do all this audio revision for you. So you can listen over and over again, check the screen for whatever you can still add to the knowledge you have before, and it will be all good. God bless you.